So once more, my name is Tatiana, and our tour will last approximately 1 hour and 20 minutes. And after the tour, with your tickets, you can enter the other cathedrals and the Patriarchal Palace, and I'll tell you what you can visit after the tour. And at the end of our tour, I'll show you the Armory Museum building and the way to it if someone has the tickets for the Armory. Well, and first of all, I have to mention that the word Kremlin means fortress. We are within the fortress walls. And this particular fortress of red bricks, these towers and walls, it was constructed at the end of the 15th century. Within 10 years, since 1485 till 1495, by Italian architects and engineers who had been invited to do this work. Well, but I think you know that it is not the first fortress on this particular place. The first was wooden and much smaller, and it was built in the middle of the 12th century when Moscow was founded. Because in that period, to found a city meant to construct a fortress. The difference between a village and a city was just the fortification. And so that prince who ordered to construct the first fortress here, and his name was Yuri Long-Armed. He was nicknamed Long-Armed for his unification policy. He is considered to be the founder of Moscow. But the first fortress on this particular place was only 1 hectare in area. This area within the Kremlin walls is 27.5 hectares, which equals 68 acres approximately. It is rather large. And this area is the oldest part of Moscow, because from the very beginning, all the Muscovites, they resided here within the walls. And only with the growth of the population, approximately since the early 14th century, some minor people, poor people, they began to settle outside. And Moscow began to grow and grow and grow. Now it is a huge megapolis, but it is the very center. And since the early 14th century, the Kremlin became the seat of power. Initially for Grand Moscow princes, later on for Russian czars. Well, and since the 14th century, it became the residence for the heads of Russian Church. We say patriarchs. It was both religious and political residence. Until today, we have 2 palaces here within the walls, the former royal and the former patriarchal. And you know that in the early 18th century, Peter the Great, he moved the capital of Russia to St. Petersburg. But after the Communist Revolution in 1918, the Soviet government moved back to Moscow. Until today, the Kremlin is the seat of power. And the President of Russia, he doesn't live here, but he works here. And I'll show you all the official buildings also. And so please keep in mind that the word Kremlin has 3 principal meanings. It is a fortress, it is the oldest part of Moscow, and it is the seat of power or the residence of power. It was 3 principal meanings, and it is also a museum. Well, but we are standing next to the most modern edifice. It was constructed in 1961 by the order of Nikita Khrushchev, and it was built specially for holding the congresses of the Communist Party of the USSR. It is the ex-palace of congresses. But nowadays it is mostly used as a concert hall. It houses gigantic sitting hall for 6,000 seats. And probably the most interesting fact about this modern building, it was put intentionally 16 meters under the ground. It has almost the same number of floors under the ground, and it was done specially not to construct it too high, not to dwarf the other historical buildings. And you can compare, it is almost the same height. So let me stand with my back with this building, and it is the arsenal. So the arsenal for keeping gunpowder, guns, cannons. And Peter the Great ordered to construct this arsenal in the early 18th century for the first time. Actually, it was reconstructed several times. Well, and it is still used by soldiers, by the way, from the personal presidential regiment. It is the barracks for the presidential regiment, and it is the only one residential building here in the Kremlin. Well, but till the time of Peter the Great, this area was absolutely residential. There were many houses, estates belonged to Russian people, the elite of Russian society, rich people in the 17th century resided here. But all of them moved to the new capital to have their new palaces in St. Petersburg, and Peter decided to construct the arsenal. And along the facades, you see the collection of cannons. Those on the gun carriages, these are old Russian cannons from the 16th and 17th centuries. But those in between, you see cannon barrels. These are cannons captured from French Napoleon army in 1812, 1813. And we have almost all the cannons, all the artillery which Napoleon had here, more than 800. Well, and they were cast, these cannons, they were designed not only in France itself, but also in Germany, Austria, Poland, Italy, even Spain. And it is absolutely unique collection from the historical point of view. You can study the European artillery looking at all these cannons. For Russian people, they are symbols of victory, sure, but in any case. And the next building behind the trees, now do you see the flag above its cupola? It is the most important official building. It is the office for the president, and so we're going to this direction.
Bella l'idea di non voler fare una mano troppo.